Good morning and welcome back to the 300 bird challenge, where we're trying to see 300 different bird species this year, and our Florida road trip where we're travelling for 2 weeks across Florida trying to find as many birds as we can towards our challenge. We'll be back after this. Okay, welcome back everyone. We are at
Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge.
It's going to be a birding safari to start off this video. Going to be driving along a road ahead of us, trying to spot any birds at the side of the road in the various habitats, so stick with us. We'll take a drive along this road now, see what's out here. Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge is located off the Florida mainland on the north coast of Sanibel Island. It features a wildlife drive with some stopping points and the Indigo Trail, which we'll do later in this video. Early on, this white ibis up in a tree near the start of the drive. Tickets please. We pulled over at one of the many bodies of water when we spotted some black-bellied plovers. And a larger bird just behind, a willet. We'd seen loads of ospreys in Florida so far, and here was no exception. This nest had both parents present and 2 young. Okay, I've stopped the car. I heard a song through the window that I didn't recognise. That song there. Thanks to the magic of Merlin, that's a white-eyed vireo. We're going to see if we can spot it. This bird crops up in Ontario here and there, but not super often, so this is a lifer for us. It has a fairly short but loud, distinct song that we became used to hearing throughout our Florida trip. Speaking of birds we were growing accustomed to seeing, here's a black and white warbler. Let's continue a little further along the drive. We kept the windows open as we crawled along, listening for bird song and keeping an eye on any passing trees and marshes. We reached an observation tower and looked out over the water. Distant views of a reddish egret and a great egret. The views of the reddish egret improved a little as it began to hunt. Closer looks too at another black-bellied plover. This area around the tower was fairly active. A couple of American pelicans hanging out on a beach too. Meanwhile, up in the trees, a slightly malty indigo bunting. And a momentarily puzzling warbler because it's female. It's a new bird for the year, Cape May warbler. We were helped along with this diagnosis when the prettier male Cape May popped up nearby. That's a Cape May, 100%. Beautiful. Further up the trail, near to a small bridge, we spotted something in the water.
A good 7-footer.
That was about it for the wildlife drive, but we circled back around to the beginning again and then walked the Indigo Trail. Okay guys, awesome nature drive. We've hopped out of the car now. We're going to do a short trail near the nature centre that leads to a salt marsh with a boardwalk. Quite a lot going on here, but excuse the school group making quite a bit of noise in the background. This spoonbill is busy balancing in the trees. It was building a nearby nest. Speaking of, here's a pair of yellow-crowned night herons. One is building the nest, the other appears to be supervising with a certain look of judgment about it. A few anhingas around like this one, and also this pair with some offspring. There were a couple of tricoloured herons here too. We decided to move on to another stop a few miles down the road. Okay, so we left the boardwalk and we have moved on to Bailey's Tract, which is a different area but is associated with Ding Darling
National Wildlife Refuge.
National Wildlife Refuge. Just going to see if we can add any more birds here or any other wildlife. Let's take a look around. We're going to do a short trail. It's starting to get quite humid for my British blood. Gorgeous looks at black-necked stilt early in the walk. One on a nest, another wading through the water. This tricoloured heron was picking off dragonflies for lunch. And that was about it for birds, but here's a sleeping green iguana. And if you don't like creepy crawlies, look away now from this Florida ivory millipede. We were about to leave when this hefty alligator decided to start basking in the middle of the trail.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
okay.
brilliant! So what do we do now?
Wait.
But we did eventually escape. Okay guys, I think it's time for us to go now. We're going to take the afternoon off today and we're going to spend some time at the beach, but stay tuned because this video continues with tomorrow's footage. In the meantime, Sarah, what's been your highlight from today, do you think?
Probably the tricoloured heron.
Yeah, I like seeing that too, and also it was cool seeing the yellow-crowned night herons. They were kind of tending to a nest. I quite enjoyed that. And also, I know it's something we get in Ontario too, but really nice looks at a full kind of breeding plumage Cape May warbler. That was also pretty cool. We are now going to leave. We were held captive for a moment there by an alligator crossing the path and just kind of sunning itself, and taking a couple of steps towards it to try and scare it away, which ended up working. So thankfully we can leave because I don't want to be out in this heat, even though the alligator wants to. Anyway, stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow. That follows after this. Hi guys, welcome back from the break.
This morning we are at Audubon Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary.
Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary is a little further inland than we've been used to so far. While it is technically outside of the Everglades National Park, it is our first taste, ecologically speaking, of an Everglades type environment. Very pretty boardwalk. We're hearing lots of birds. It's difficult to get eyes on some of them, but we're hearing great crested flycatcher. Just got brief looks at blue-grey gnatcatchers, but there's a few of those around. Some common birds, catbirds, cardinals. What else? Well, we heard a house wren and we saw it, but we couldn't get the camera on it, so that doesn't count yet, but hopefully we'll see it at some point. Not uncommon in Ontario, so even if we don't find it here in Florida, we will find it later in the year anyway.
One of the key features about Corkscrew Swamp is that it actually covers 4 different ecosystems. So right now we are starting in the pine flatwoods, which is dominated by the slash pine trees.
Just got nice looks at a northern parula, a really pretty warbler species. It started off a little quiet for birds at Corkscrew, but we did see the occasional warbler. And a couple of cool species will be coming soon, but in the meantime, back to Sara.
So we're just starting to edge into the next ecosystem, which is the wet prairie. It's a type of freshwater marsh. Water will stand here during the wet season, so this is where grasses will grow, which attracts deer, sandhill crane, and wintering painted dumplings.
Out on the grass, this Carolina wren, and, as you can probably hear, red-bellied woodpeckers too. And brief but not very good views of a noisy white-eyed vireo, although another one did show up a little further along the boardwalk. We continued into the next habitat.
So now we're just starting to enter what is the primary reason that Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary exists, the bald cypress ecosystem. So it is a rare ecosystem that floods during the rainy season and helps support a wetland and a plethora of birds.
Guys, Sarah just saw a barred owl. That was a nice surprise. Saw something large fly in, silently as they do, and then cause a bit of alarm amongst the other birds. Got good eyes on that. Just hung around for a few seconds before flying deeper into the woods. A few interesting plants in this flooded forest swamp.
So the vine-like structure that's wrapped around the tree there is strangler fig. In Florida, the most common species is golden fig. It can grow by itself, but normally it clings to a host tree. It does produce fruit, and there are a lot of birds and insects that rely on that as their primary source of nutrition.
Continuing along the boardwalk, we saw more of the same birds really, black and white warblers and northern purullas. So let's skip forward a bit to a meadow near the end of the trail. Here we saw some white-tailed deer and a few interesting butterflies. Another gull fritillary and a new butterfly for me, Palamede's swallowtail. I know, what about birds? Well, how about this swallow-tailed kite, a lifer for us? This was our first kite. On this trip to Florida, we hope to also see a snail kite and maybe a rare Mississippi kite. There's also a white-tailed kite, which is even more rare, but we did at least hope for the swallowtail, snail, and perhaps Mississippi kite on this trip. Okay, time to move on to the Everglades proper now. Back at our next stop after this break.
Okay, we are now at Shark Valley in the Everglades National Park.
We're going to take a ride on this tram behind us shortly, just waiting for our time to turn up. We'll see if we see anything on the tour. The tour was fun, but not super eventful for birds. Tons of great blue herons. Oh, another one. But we did get a lifer towards the end of the tour. There were tons of these Halloween pennants around, hanging on in the wind. But most people on this tour were here for the alligators, like this beast. Here's a tiny alligator, a young one, maybe a few months old. Spot the difference here? This is an American crocodile. They're found in the Caribbean, but their northern range extends into the southern parts of Florida too. Okay guys, we had to head back to the hotel and get changed, have a shower and that kind of thing because I had another one of my stupid allergy attacks. I'm not sure if I'm allergic to the pollen from palm trees or what's going on there, but we need to try to get on top of that if possible. Anyway, really cool tram ride. We got to see crocodiles and alligators. Got to see those while you're in Florida, right? Also, much closer looks at black vultures, so glad to see those. That's a lifer for us, captured earlier in the video. Time for us to go now. If you would please hit that like button, it will help other people find the channel. We would really appreciate that. Please leave us a comment under the video. We like to engage with you guys. And if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell icon, and that will give you notifications when we post new videos. Speaking of new videos, we'll have another one from Florida coming soon. We're heading down to the Keys next. Thanks for watching this video. Happy birding. We'll see you soon. Bye.